3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomatic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I am the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and movie critic. And today we have an episode that we're going to call You Can Only Do That on Television, or Cinema actually.
Yeah.
Because it plays off a Canadian show. Hey, Nick and I are each going to list 3 things that we find in movies all the time, but that never really happen that way in real life.
And we're not talking like science fiction, like people going to Mars and stuff like that. Just, stuff you see happen like almost every day, that's very common in television and cinema.
But yeah, a good example that was brought to us by one of our friends is the way people talk in a car.
Yeah.
Like, while driving, and they're constantly looking at each other. Like, you don't do that in a car unless you're a terrible, terrible, terrible driver.
Yeah. Or you have a death wish, either or.
Anyway, but before we do that, we're going to start with something that we haven't done in a while. It's called Show and Tell, and that's when we recommend a nice, lovely movie for you. And our theme for this Show and Tell is exactly that. A movie that does something realistically that is usually never done so in other movies.
Yeah.
Why don't you get us started, Nick?
Well, I'm going to recommend Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's a movie about a thief that's passing out as an actor and a private detective, and they get like entangled in a murder mystery. And there's also an actress who's like used to be an old friend of the thief that's in there too. But what happens that's like very close to reality is that in one scene somebody gets shot, and the thief, played by Robert Downey Jr., he takes the gun and he throws it in the lake. And the private investigator just berates him, like, why did you do this? Now they'll just dredge up the lake and they'll find the gun, you idiot. Because you see that all the time. Let's get rid of the weapon and just throw the weapon away like that. But yeah, that's not going to work. Police aren't that lazy. They're going to look for the weapon close to the body. You know?
Yeah, especially since it was like a kind of a small lake. It's like they will dredge it up, and that happens a lot of movies. It is a small lake, and they still throw the weapon in there as if like, look, this is a golf course. We can empty the lake in no time. Yeah, the private eye is played by Val Kilmer in a hilarious performance because essentially he spends the entire time just busting Robert Downey Jr.'s balls about just how much of an idiot he is. And most of Robert Downey Jr.'s idiocy in that movie comes from actually him believing in a lot of movie cliches and a lot of like how the world works in fiction instead of the real world.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. No, I love that movie. It makes me laugh every time. Great choice.
Yeah. What is your choice?
Mine is very different. I'm going to recommend the Oscar winner, The English Patient from 1996. For those of you who don't remember it, or perhaps we're too young, The English Patient takes place like right at the end of World War II. There's a nurse who encounters this soldier who's like his face is all bandaged up and stuff, and he begins to tell her about his experience during the war, which turns out to be this big, sordid love affair, super romance thing. It's actually really interesting movie. It's lovely, it's good. It won the Oscar for a reason. It's well written. If you're into love stories, it is one of the good ones. Why I'm recommending it in this context, though, is for one scene. There's that scene where he meets his lover, and he can't help himself. He's so taken with his passion, his lust. He rips her dress off her, and they make passionate love. And it's a standard, beautiful scene, beautifully shot. But what sells it for me is that in the next scene, the very next scene, it's the next morning. Both of them are talking in her room. And he's sitting on the couch, sewing back the buttons of her shirt that he ripped off her. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I've heard that, ripping the clothing off the first time you make love, that's super romantic. Like after the second or third time, it gets old really, really fast.
All right, so that's it for Show and Tell.
Yeah.
Let's get started with our top 3 things that only happens in movies. Why don't you get us started, Nick?
My number 3 are people who go in like air ducts. Like, it doesn't happen every day. That's not something you do every day, but people still have to go in there. And they, in the movies, they come out and they're squeaky clean and everything. These places are extremely dirty. Like, just take the scene from Speed at the beginning where they're saving the hostages in the elevator and they go in the shaft and they try and, hook up the elevator. They would have gotten out there. They would have been like black with oil and dust. They would have been disgusting. But in movies, no, that doesn't happen there. Everything is always squeaky clean. Nothing's dusty. It's like the maid is in there every day just cleaning the elevator shaft for some reason.
Yeah, well, not only is she cleaning the elevator shaft, she's removing the crucial grease factor that allows the elevator to actually function properly.
Yeah. Just like air ducts, like thieves are crawling in there. That doesn't happen every day. But if you just take a look into one of those at work or something, you'll see it's disgusting and nobody wants to crawl in there at all, ever.
Yeah, no, it's pretty grungy in there. And you find a lot of dead animals in there usually. It's really gross.
Yeah, dead rats, cockroaches. Yeah, so... Yeah, that's something like in movie. It looks so perfect in movie. It looks so easy. It's like, no, it's gross. it's disgusting.
Yeah, no... Yeah, and heist movies, they always use that, don't they? Like, I'm thinking of Foolproof or Mission Impossible.
Or even Ocean's 11 when they go down the shaft at the end there.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
I'd love to see a movie one day where they use that cliche and they have the operation and they make it grungy and dirty, like you say. But, like, where, like, the suspense comes from one of them having either an asthma attack or, like, major allergies from it.
Or a rat phobia or something.
Oh, the rat phobia we've seen in Mission Impossible, right? With Jean Reno holding Tom Cruise.
Yeah. But the rest of the air thing was squeaky clean. There was just the rat in there for some reason.
I know, and yeah, because that rat apparently never poops.
Yeah.
Although, do we really don't want to see rat poop on the show? It's sort of like 24. Yes, I could argue that we really logically ought to see Jack Bauer sleep more and pee and poo, but I don't necessarily want to see that.
No, we'd rather see him torture the president.
Exactly. Yeah, now you know I don't watch 24.
So what is your number 3 then?
My number 3 is one that people are very familiar with. I'm sure it's a combination of two things. It's the DNA test within 1 week.
Yeah.
A la CSI. Like, that never happened. DNA test takes months.
Yeah.
And B, the trial that happens the week after that. A criminal trial takes upwards from a year.
Yeah. You get 6 months before your first plea, guilty or not guilty. And after that, another 6 months goes before your trial even begins. So, there's no way. Like,
an episode of Law and Order in reality, like, every episode ought to take place more or less at the same time as they investigate several crimes, and the trial for one episode happens like 6 months later into the next season. It would be very confusing.
Yeah, last time, 6 months ago, on Law and Order, they show the investigation.
So it always looks weird when you see a cast member go in Law and Order, which happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, but how was he a witness for that other trial if he's dead in that season? Like, that, it's impossible.
Wow. Didn't think about that. Although DNA tests, they used to take longer. They're shortening the time, so maybe we'll see 1 week DNA test eventually.
As the technology gets better, for sure.
24-hour DNA test, like in CSI, I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, whenever you see somebody give the little DNA test, like, check this for DNA, I want it now. In real life, the lab technician would turn around and go, like, hold your breath.
Was it Greg Sanders? He's like, he was so good. They went really, really fast as DNA test. The person being good or not does not make the DNA test go faster or not as fast. That was just ridiculous.
If you have a really good lab tech, he would be able to execute more DNA tests at the same time through his magical multitasking abilities, but they would still all take really long. Alright, so what's your number 2?
My number 2 is hacking. Every time you see hacking, you always see like a progress bar. It's like, hacking done, like 73%. There's no way that can be real. There's no way a computer can know if it's almost ready to be, hacking to the computer or not. It's all about breaking, codes and, mounds of numbers you see usually on the Linux machine. It's never like a Windows progress bar, 100% done. Your computer has been hacked. It's ridiculous. You can't even get proper 100% install bars on your software you install. It usually jumps from like 3% to 78% all of a sudden. So imagine with hacking how that's ridiculous.
Well, it's because it implies that whichever company created the operating system actually created some graphics in case of hacking.
Yeah.
It's like, really, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you felt compelled to ask your guys to program this in? Like,
the best one was like, I think in Swordfish, when he was hacking and it was like a graphics interface where he had to like complete spheres like a Tetris or something. I'm like, that is ridiculous. What kind of security system is this? Where you're playing Tetris on a sphere is like, wow.
Yeah, no, Hackers, the movie Hackers is also quite bad with the graphical interface to make it look cool. Because, I don't know if you've seen Hackers with Angelina Jolie. It's all about, like, how these guys are neo-punk hackers, super cool skateboarders. I was like, no. Hackers are guys who spend most of their time with Cheetos on their chest. Like, you know. And, like, I say that sarcastically, but there's a reason for that. Because they spent all their time in front of the computer. That's how they got so good at what they do.
Yeah. I mean, the beginning of the Matrix, that's what hacking is, You see Neo asleep at his computer, and some guy comes like, and then he grabs a bunch of discs, which one's the right one, and he gives the hack program to the other guy. And when you hack, basically what you see on the screen is a bunch of numbers scrolling by, and that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, and to a certain degree, I understand why movies don't do it that way. For the same reason that the Law & Order episode would be way too confusing if they did it in a real timeline.
Yeah.
It would be really, really boring to watch hacker movies if all we saw was fat dudes on a computer.
You don't need to show the hacking process happening, really. You never saw Neo, like, on his computer, it's like, alright, access this, and him waiting and waiting. No, you just see him getting woken up, and he's like, okay, here's your shit. That's all you need to show. I mean, if you're gonna show something completely wrong like that, and ridiculous, like with a progress bar, don't show it at all.
Yeah, no, I will say, as an aside, computer hacking thrillers, like, there was a big wave of them in the 90s, and we're still getting some today.
Yeah.
Like, the heist movie where the heist is online, stop it. Stop it, because you're forced to do these weird things that are not realistic just to make it look like it's interesting to hack. But it's also like, no, the reason why you have to do all of this is because hacking is not cinematically interesting. Just give me an old-fashioned robber crawling a clean air duct.
So what is your number 2, Dimitri?
My number 2 is from the horror movies. As you guys know, I am a huge horror fan, and one of the things that I notice never quite makes sense is that scene where somebody is looking around and there's the music or the silence, whichever, but the tension is rising, and then he turns around and it's his best friend standing like 2 inches from his nose, and the music goes swing, and he's like, oh my god, and it's just you. And it's like, that would never happen in real life for one simple reason. It's something called peripheral vision. The guy would never be able to get that close to you, even if he's a ninja and doesn't make noise, because you would have caught him through the corner of your eye.
Actually, being an astronomer, I can tell you that the corner of your eye is great to see movement like that. It's very good. So you would, caught it even actually before you would have seen him if he was coming straight towards you. Because, your peripheral vision is very good at catching very minute movements.
There.
So, yeah, that's completely wrong.
And they do it in every movie. And the thing that made me notice this, ironically, is I had a nightmare once.
Yeah.
Where I was in bed, and there was this ghost, sort of like one of those Japanese horror movie ghosts.
Okay,
sort of
yeah.
This pale thing that was sort of like hiding in a sort of hole beneath my cushions. Yeah. And so, like, it doesn't make sense logically, but that's how Japanese ghosts work, I guess. And, like, grabbed me and pulled me through the hair and pulled me into the abyss or something.
Yeah.
And in the dream, all I could think was, how did I not catch her with my peripheral vision? How is that even possible?
That's one thing I don't like about those horror movies is like they try, the surprise shock and like just that it's just like try to scare the viewers just by shocking them, and it's like there's fake shocks so often. It's like,
well, yeah, 9 times out of 10 there, and especially in the first and second act, it's all jump scares for nothing.
Yeah. You know, it doesn't have to be jump scares all the time. It makes the actual real scares better if you don't, you know, dilute them with all those fake ones beforehand.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's because I know why they make the fake scares. It's because you can't blow your load every time, you know? Some of them have to be real, some of them have to be fake to sort of get you always jumping, but, you know, the real scare has more value. But the problem with that is that it's annoying. It's just like, ah! Oh, okay. Oh, it's like, if I wanted that, I'd go into, you know, Six Flags and take one of those roller coasters or whatever. But in a movie, a horror movie especially, I find it so much more effective when you just create that really creepy atmosphere with silence and nothing happens until something does. And it makes you jump, not because, you know, it's that timing where you jump, it's because you've been waiting for something to happen for so bloody long.
Yeah. Well, that's one problem. I don't know if it's because of the way it worked or because of the quality of the movie, but I remember watching The Thing, the new one, not the John Carpenter one, and the first scare was a fake one. It's just some guy that did boo to a person in the station. And after he's like, okay, this is what we're doing right now, and it really pretty much ruined all the other scares afterwards because I was expecting jump scares like that. You know, so at least if the first one hadn't been a fake one, I would have gotten that one for real and I would have been like scared really, but at that point you're like, oh, we're doing the jump scares now, really? Okay. And I was pretty much like, okay, so it's quiet and dark now, there's going to be a jump scare. And yeah, obviously there was a jump scare. It's just, it ruins it. If you're going to make it a jump scare, make the first one be really good, at least, not some fake peripheral vision stuff.
It's true. No, worse than that in the Thing remake is they have the boo jump scare, and because it's become such a cliche to do it that way, I when I watch it, I actually went T-5 before real scare. 4, 3, 2, the actual monster comes out of the ice, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's just too formulaic at that point.
Wow.
Whereas if you had, like you said, just done the monster for real. Like, he's looking around and nothing's happening and there's silence, and you as an audience member know, alright, the thing's going to come out of the ice at this point. It's in this scene, I don't know when it's going to come out of the ice. And when it does come out of the ice, it's going to scare you, not because you didn't see it coming, not because it made you jump, but because you're like, it's happening. When is it happening? Not now. Okay, not now. How about now? No, not now. How about now? Oh, crap, now. Yeah. You know, like, that works.
And if you make it look really gory, that helps with, you know, the scare factor, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, those stupid peripheral vision thing, yeah. Try and scare your girlfriend that way. Just walk sideways towards her and go boo. And she'll just, what are you doing?
That's a good point. I actually found that the one time where I actually really did scare the crap out of someone with a practical joke is when they went to see The Ring. And I had already seen it, like I meant the original Japanese one at the Fantasia Film Festival. I had already seen it. They were playing it again. My roommate went to see it. And I knew that. And I knew around what time he would come back.
Yeah.
I'm Asian. I have very long hair. I put it all around my face, wore like a long white robe, which I conveniently had, and just waited for him in front of the door for him to open the door.
Nice.
But you'll notice that I am not in his peripheral vision because he's coming towards me.
Yeah. But there's a door hidden, you know, so it wasn't just like trying to scare him, just waiting for him, walking towards him, and he's like, "Oh, Dimitri, it's you!" What the hell?
By the way, I almost killed my roommate. He almost fell down the stairs because he got scared. He's all right though.
Nice.
All right, that seems like a good time to move on to your number one pick for thing that only happens in the movies.
Surprise parties. Surprisingly, they're a lot harder to pull off in real life. In the movies, the person just shows up, opens the door, and everybody's surprised, and he's like shocked that all his friends are here. In real life, the person shows up, and gee, what are all these cars doing in front of this house? And that's usually his first clue, and he knows at this point that there's a party going on. What are all these cars doing in front of this house on my birthday? This is, And then you try and be smarter than that. So okay, we'll try and trick him. We'll park our cars further down the street. But the problem with that is that everybody shows up before him to surprise him, and people get bored. So let's turn on the music and let's start talking. And then it gets louder and louder. And all of a sudden you hear a knock on the door. So very subtly you turn off the music and you go shh, shh. And the guy is hearing this from across the door. So it's like, he's not going to be surprised either. So, you have to be really, really good to pull off the perfect surprise party. It's not just a question of showing up and yelling surprise. You have to think it through, really.
Yeah, you have to essentially have a GPS tracker on the guy and a screen in your pocket.
Yeah.
And also, you have to make sure that all the guests are not people that are only connected to the person that are surprised, so that they won't feel compelled to try to meet the new people or catch up with them if it's been a long time since they've seen them, and therefore chit-chat. There's a lot of factors to consider, is what I'm saying.
You can chit-chat, but, another thing is you need a lookout. But then the lookout gets bored, and he just starts chit-chatting with somebody else, and he completely misses the person coming in. So, yeah, that doesn't work. And then there's always the restaurant one, too, that, the person gets to the restaurant and is like, there's a group of 14, where are they? Say he shows up with his wife, and the wife has to suddenly ask, where's the party of 14 that he's not supposed to know about? And then we're follow us right here. There's always a give when you go to a restaurant as well. So it has to be extremely well planned. It's not the thing you see on TV. They don't go off without a hitch like that.
Yeah, no, I've had the same experience as you with real life surprise parties. Mostly I'm the idiot getting bored starting to talk. So it's me.
The worst one I went to was, the guy was late because he was late. That was him. So, we started eating. So he showed up and we were eating.
Oh, that's bad.
With rice, with our mouths full, But he's like, yeah, well, I can't blame you guys. I'm sorry I was late. But, it's just surprise. We even started your cake, man. No, we didn't do that. That would have been horrible.
Oh, that's very sad.
That's what you get when you don't show up to your own birthday surprise party on time.
Yeah. Whenever you have a surprise party, be aware and be on time.
Exactly. Alright, so what is your number one?
My number one pick for a thing that only happens on movies, or in movies rather, hey, English, is the makeover that makes the teenager attractive. Now, you've seen it in the countless teen comedies. Little girl, she's kind of a reject, nobody really likes her, she's at the bottom of the popularity chain, she gets the makeover, she's all pretty and whatnot, she goes to the prom, and suddenly the most popular guy in school asks her out, all the girls turn around and go, oh my god, wow.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that I don't believe in the power of a makeover in terms of making a young girl that is usually not prettier. I actually think that can happen.
Yeah.
But the nature of high school is that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Popularity is not only looks. Every teenager who's actually been in a high school knows that.
Indeed.
A lot of it is timing, a lot of it is your personality in terms of how much they appeal to the main crowd. Not that there's anything wrong with you if you don't appeal to the main crowd. It's lottery. That's what it is.
Pretty much.
And most of it is the reputation you've accumulated over the course of a year before that prom.
Indeed.
So if you show up as pretty as all heck, if they recognize you and know your name, they don't see the pretty dress. They still see the same loser they want to see.
Now it's even worse because you're a wannabe now.
Yeah, that's true. So the guy will never ask you out. Nobody's going to turn around, and the few that do, it's going to be to jeer you.
Yeah.
By the way, I feel really bad. Like, if ever you're not popular in school and it's sort of weighing on you, like, I'm not trying to tell you that it's never going to end. What I'm trying to tell you...
Oh, it's going to end when high school ends.
Yeah, it's going to end when high school ends. If you actually change school, the truth is you can reinvent yourself because you don't have any reputation with these kids.
Yeah.
And that's true. You really can. And more to the point also is you probably have to notice who your friends actually are. In my experience, I have very rarely met people with zero friends. I have met a lot of people who don't realize that they have the friends that they do because they're at the bottom of the social chain as well. And we tend not to value them as much or take them for granted.
Yeah,
the trick is not to do that.
Yeah. I was a nerd in high school. The first 2 years, I didn't want to admit I was a nerd. And, I was like, no, I have to, hang out with the cool kids and stuff like that. As soon as I, accepted I was a nerd, it went a lot smoother, Joined the other nerds, played D&D, played Magic the Gathering. We had fun. It was great. The rest of the high school just flew by.
Yeah, no, because the thing is, the popularity race is not so important. What's important is to have a support system, is to have people you can talk to, complain to, lash out with when something's wrong. Express yourself, all of that stuff. They don't need to be popular.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't make a good movie, you know, when instead of getting the makeover, the person realizes, hey, I am a nerd, and, you know, sits down next to the D&D club and is like, can I join you guys? I brought my character sheet. So that would not make a movie that appeals to everybody.
Actually, I think you could pull it off. I find that the Hollywood movies never go for that because they want to maintain that underdog, you can make it too, you can achieve your dreams too sort of philosophy, which I actually think is kind of toxic for kids.
Yeah.
I find it much better as like, no, look, your life is not that bad. There's challenges, but here's what you do have, and here are the tools you can use to get by.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, that was not at all what I was talking about. What I was talking about is the fact that a makeover will not change anything.
No, but, you know, we're just trying to give advice here, you know.
Yeah.
Makeover, not going to help be who you are and, you know who your friends are.
Oh, absolutely. And, so that always makes me laugh when I see those movies, especially with the glasses thing. Everybody knows that cliche, but it's like she takes off her glasses and everyone's like, oh my god, you're pretty. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's me because I actually find glasses sexy on women. I'm like, what? Shut up.
It depends. Like, if the person has a really, really big, you know, strong prescription, you take out the glasses, you can actually see their eyes now. You're like, oh yeah, you're pretty without the glasses, you know.
Ooh, cold.
No, I've had, it was a guy, I'm not going to say he was pretty, but, you know, the day he got rid of his glasses and put his, you know, contacts on, it's like, dude, your face is huge all of a sudden, you know, and you could actually see his eyes, like, you know, you could really see the difference going from a very big prescription to nothing at all. It's like, he completely looked different. So, you could see somebody, you know, with, you know, very, very strong eyeglasses that having tiny eyes and all of a sudden take off the glasses. Oh, you know, you have beautiful eyes that way. I could see that being true. Like, you know, you take off your glasses, your ass is spectacular. I don't think that works that way.
I think it always shocks me when the family and friends do it too. As if that person has never taken off their glasses in front of them. You know, like never gotten a headache, never cleaned the glasses in front of her friends. Hides in the bathroom to do it. I know. Yeah. You know?
It is very taboo to clean glasses. You know?
Anyway, I guess that's it for our top 3.
Yeah.
So, if you have your own that only happens on television and movies cliche or just thing that happens, and you want to share it, you can write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment right below the episode at idiomanic.com. We love to hear that stuff, especially that stuff. Like, we're collectors of cliches or things that break our suspension of disbelief, rather. We love that stuff. Yeah. And, I'm actually going to leave you with one additional one that I want to talk about, just to exit the show here. It's in horror movies, and one thing that always bugs me is when the killer stabs someone. Yeah. And like they stab, and then they take the knife out, and they stab again. Yeah. Do you have any idea how hard it is to just penetrate the skin the first time around, but then to remove it is even twice as hard because there's a suction effect in there?
Yeah. Speaking of from experience, are you?
Oh, well, let me demonstrate.
No!